Good morning, dear students. I hope you're doing fine today. This presentation is a continuation of Julius Caesar that we have started last quarter. And we're going to begin this quarter with the rest of Act 4 and 5. But before we do that, we still need to focus and highlight something really important about Act 3. And let me just remind you that Act 3 was it was about the speeches of Brutus and Antony after Caesar's assassination. And we mentioned before that these speeches are the most important in all the play because they introduce the twist in the events where the conspirators did not see them. So let me just introduce you to the objectives of the lesson. All right. In this lesson, we're going to learn about different means of persuasion or persuasive strategies. This is very important because both Antony and Brutus, they have played on the people's minds and hearts in order to allure them to win their side. So it's really important to point out and analyze each of their speeches with respect to these three different persuasive strategies. They are ethos, pathos, and logos. We will discuss each of them separately. And the next objective is that we need to differentiate between them. We need to learn about their definitions, and we also need to offer examples for each, just to reinforce our understanding of each of these ways. The last objective is that we also need to learn about the purpose of each of these persuasive strategies. These three different means of persuasion, they have come up. This is Aristotle. Aristotle is a Greek philosopher who has done a lot of research and studies in different fields and different disciplines. Disciplines like logic, like behavior, like rhetoric. And our focus in this presentation is on his studies in rhetoric. Rhetoric is another word for speech style. Each person has a different style in his speech. He uses words, or he uses diction, or he uses structure in his speech in different ways that have a different effect on the listeners or the readers. During his analysis, he came up with these three different means of persuasion. The first type of persuasive strategies is called ethos. And ethos, in other words, means credibility. What is credibility? The word credible means believable. So the question that he tries to pose here is, why is it that people would believe in the presenter, what the presenter has to say? What makes him believable? What makes the people or the listeners trust the person on what he has to tell them? He must have some kind of credentials. Credentials are the little things that make people look up to the person that is talking to them, of their audiences. They either arouse positive emotions or negative emotions. And there are a lot of cues in the speeches. When you find them, you will be able to identify has been used as pathos, something that appeals to my emotions. The third and last type of persuasive strategy is logos. Logos is a word that is very close to logic, and yes, it is related to how a presenter appeals to his or her audience through logical reasoning. like drawing on certain facts, like drawing on research findings, like offering concrete figures or percentages. And we usually believe very much in a presenter when he offers his findings or his outcomes in numbers or in facts. It tells us that this is a more reliable and trustworthy source. I will explain each of these different persuasive strategies one more time with a little bit of more explanation and examples. Our first persuasive strategy, which is ethos, again, it means that the character that you are applying for a job. And you have typed up and prepared your resume or your CV, and then you go and sit for an interview. And then the interviewer asks you about something called your credentials. Credentials here means what are your qualifications, what is your background, educational background, what is your expertise, how long have you been working in a certain profession or in a certain field. Important for your interviewer to make or to come up with a decision about whether to hire you or not. Any kind of employer or any company or any organization that you would like to join, they want to know whether you are an asset to their company or not, whether you are an added value to their company or not. How would they know that unless they know about your skills, your qualifications, what you're able to do, what kind of education did you receive? Do you have a master's degree? Do you have a PhD degree? From which school or college did you graduate? Did you receive any kind of awards where you are skillful or professional in something specific? And also, how many years of experience do you have? All of this counts up to their decision that they're going to make about you. It's exactly the same thing. When a presenter wants to argue and wants to win his audience, sometimes the presenter offers himself or introduces himself to establish trust and credibility with his audience. When the audience knows that this is a person who has experience, who is professional in his field, who has had a lot of achievements and accomplishments, who has received different awards or certificates, they usually take him as a believable person, a credible person, someone that I can trust the knowledge that he's going to offer me. This is called ethos. Let's take a look at the examples that are offered on the slide. The first example says, our roof contracting company has been running for 50 years with the best qualified staff of technicians. Now, the cue word or phrase here in this statement is that the company has been running for 50 years. 50 years is a really, really long time. And if the company can sustain to remain running and opening for 50 years, then this is a company that has been trusted by its customers or by its clients. Otherwise, they would have just shut it down, right? And the statement also says that they have the best qualified staff of technicians. So the statement also tries to offer some kind of fact that they have the best personnel, they have the best staff of technicians that serves their that serves their clients or their customers. So again, what they're offering here is ethos. Ethos is that they're trying to establish trust with their customers. They're telling them that we have been working in this field for such a long time. And this means, this translates into that their customers are loyal to them. They trust them. Whenever I want to buy a loyal customer to a certain company that always gives you the best quality of chocolate, the company that has been in the field for all this time means that they are trusted. All right, this is credentials. This is appealing to ethos. The other example, similarly, also mentions a statement that has been said by a microbiology expert. And the word expert here is our cue. When you find that the sentence or the statement offers you cues like expertise, or this is my profession, or it offers you how long the person has been working, or it offers you the accomplishments or achievements of a certain person in a certain field, all these are cues that the person is trying to establish a credibility and trustworthiness. Disinfecting your home and using sanitizers is extremely important to minimize corona contagion. This is a statement that comes from a well-known microbiology expert. Now, we know that this is ethos because the statement says that this comes from an expert in the field. And we usually look for specialists or experts to take their opinion or to take their judgment about certain knowledge. We trust them because they are specialists. They are experts in their field. The word expert here is Q, and it shows me that this statement appeals to ethos. Now, moving on, we're going to explain the second persuasive strategy, which is pathos. Actually, this is one of the easiest persuasive strategies, where it's very easy to arouse the feelings of your audience. The character arouses strong feelings of listeners and plays on their emotions through personal experiences. Now, if the presenter wants to convince you with the argument, he tries to appeal to your emotions. He tries to talk about a personal story, a personal narrative, something that happened to him in his life, or something that will happen to you in your life, something that you came across before. And he would try to show you the shared experiences that both him as presenter and you as his audience have in common. And the feelings that he might arouse might be positive or negative. Positive, like arousing feelings of love, of hope, of patriotism. Patriotism is another word for being nationalistic. This is the love of your country. Or it could arouse negative feelings like, for example, anger, tension, fear, and so on. Let's have a look at the examples on the slide. After years of this type of disrespect from your boss, countless hours wasted, birthdays missed, it's time that you took a stand. All right, this statement definitely offers some kind of arousing negative feelings. It seems that your employer or your boss has been neglectful of you. This boss has been disrespectful. This boss has wasted your time. This boss has not given enough time for you to celebrate your own personal occasions. And the statement tells you that you need to take a stand against all of these negativities. And it's quite obvious that the person is trying to arouse feelings of, yes, that's right, feelings of anger. He wants to build on the negative things that this person has faced at work with his boss, and he wants to persuade or convince that person to stand in front of or against his boss, just like Antony is going to convince his audience to stand up against the conspirators. It's very similar. The second example is you will make the right decision because you have something that not many people do. You have a heart. Now, it's very clear, and our cue word here is heart. And heart is very much related to emotions and feelings. So what the person is trying to do is build on your feelings of sympathy, your feelings of love or of pity towards something, like making a right decision about something in your life, because you have a heart. This means that you feel for others. So again, this is proof that the statement appeals to pathos. Our last persuasive strategy is logos. And logos is not something very difficult to detect in any kind of statement if you get to know what logos is about in the first place. Logos appeals to logical reasoning. I am arguing with my counterpart or with another presenter through reasoning. I'm trying to explain things accompanied by evidence. You have to support your ideas. And what kind of evidence is related to logos? You have facts. When the presenter tries to lay facts to his audience, or when he uses statistics like in figures or in percentages, people tend or they are inclined to believe more in their presenter or to believe more in a certain argument when they see numbers. Numbers means, how do we translate numbers? It means that the person has done a lot of research and has done studies and he has collected data, all right, and he has analyzed this data and translated it into numbers. This means that the person has been through a lot of experimentation. He's gathered or collected a lot of information, and now he is showing us, he's trying to share with us this information through very empirical. And they mean that the researchers have done a tedious job in trying to investigate a certain claim or a certain phenomena, and they are bringing back to us as the readers the findings of their studies. And this is something that we usually rely on as factual. They're bringing us the facts. The last type of evidence is simply logical argumentation. Let's say that I am trying to compare between two different situations and measure which one is better. So I am discussing the pros and the cons of each of these situations. This is something very logical and very practical, and you leave your audience to make their decision about which situation is better and which has the most advantages and the least disadvantages. Let's take the examples for more clarity. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury. So this statement it's given in a court. We have not only found the fingerprints and a direct confession, but we also have a video of the suspect breaking in. So the statement talks about a person who has definitely broken into a house or maybe a bank or a company. We really don't know. And the lawyer or the attorney is speaking to the jury, and he's laying down the evidence that he has found. They have fingerprints. They have a direct confession. This means that the burglar has admitted to his to his theft. But we also have a video of the suspect. They also have a video, a footage that shows the person breaking into the place. So all this is factual. This person is offering facts to the jury. The attorney is giving the jury or the judges the evidence that they have found that proves that the suspect is a criminal. The second example, a large body of research has proven that the use of technology in classrooms has a positive impact on students' learning. Our key word here in the statement is research. Again, when you find that the statement has the word research or studies or findings, then it gives you this appeal to logos. Something that has been investigated, something that has been researched, and now we're talking about the findings of this research. So all these examples, they appeal to the strategy of logos. Now, after we have discussed these three different types of persuasive strategies, it is now time for you to join your instructor in an online practice exercise on quizzes.com. This exercise is going to offer something very similar to the examples that you have seen on the slides discussing ethos, pathos, and logos, where you only have to read the statements and then choose which kind of appeal or which kind of persuasive strategy the presenter has used. Now we're going to move on to the most significant and most important part in this video, which is how to apply the speeches of Brutus and Antony. This is really, really important. Each of them has used the strategies in different ways, and the speech may have different types of strategies. The speech may not only appeal to logos, may not only appeal to pathos, but it can also appeal to ethos. I mean to say that they can use a combination of different persuasive strategies all together in their speech. There could be a certain focus, like one appeal seems to be the focus of the speech, but you may also find other persuasive strategies employed or used in the speech. Let's do this in a more practical way, and we will start with the speech of Brutus. Now, Brutus starts his speech by saying, "Romans, countrymen, and lovers, hear me for my cause, and be silent. Believe me for mine honor, and have respect to mine honor." Now, this start of his speech is really important because he is trying to do something with his audience at the beginning. He is trying to establish his credibility with the audience. He's trying to show the audience that he is a man of honor, a man of respect, and they should trust him because of this honor and this respect. This is what he says: "Believe me for mine honor, and respect me for mine honor." So this is definitely an appeal to what type of strategy? Yes, it is ethos. Ethos means that the person, the presenter, tries to establish trust with his audience, and this trust comes from his character, that he is a trustworthy person. He has always been honorable, been respectful, he has always told the truth, he has always been just and fair, and this is why people should believe in him. And this is what Brutus did at the beginning of his speech. He used ethos to appeal to his audience based on how they admire and respect Brutus for his honor and for his love for his country. Later on in his speech, he moves on to speak of Caesar, and he explains why this assassination happened. "If there is anyone in this assembly, any dear friend of Caesar, who asks why I did this to Caesar, I would respond to him, or I would answer him by saying, not that I loved Caesar less, but that I loved Rome more." This is also one of the important statements or quotes that comes from Brutus's speech. Not that I loved Caesar less, but that I loved Rome more. So you may feel here that there are emotions that he is trying to drive out of his audience. He's trying to draw their, or to attract them, or to appeal, or to allure to their feelings through patriotism. He loves his country, he is a patriotic person, and he would prefer his country over his friend, even though he loved this friend very much and he was his closest accomplice and he was his closest partner. But when it comes to his country, he would definitely prefer his country as his first priority. This shows that the person is very nationalistic or patriotic. This, I believe, is appealing to not ethos and not logos. It appeals to pathos. Yes, that is correct. So the following slide is just a recap on what I have explained in the excerpt. Believe me for mine honor and respect me for mine honor. This is to establish credibility with his audience, so it's definitely an appeal to ethos. Not that I loved Caesar less, but that I loved Rome more. This is focusing on or arousing emotions and feelings in his audience, and anything related to emotions appeals to pathos. And from pathos to logos, as you can see from this part of the excerpt or speech. Had you rather Caesar were living and die all slaves than that Caesar were dead to live all free? Explanation of the appeal to logos. Logos, part of the evidence that you're offering your audience is to make logical reasoning, where you're offering different situations and you all going to live as slaves. He will enslave you. So you will lose your freedom. But if freedom is very important to you, then this means you have to sacrifice Caesar for everyone. Them the decision. Do people want to live as slaves or do they want to live as free men? Of course, logically speaking, people would want to live freely. And this means that they have to full argumentation. As Caesar loved me, I weep for him. As he was fortunate, I rejoice it, and as he was valiant, I honor him. So he here is still and I know that he was my closest friend. I now weep for him. When he was fortunate and when he was victorious in his invasions, I rejoiced it, I celebrated it. And this is also mentioning the facts. As he was valiant, as he was a courageous warrior and militarist, I honor him. I give him. Brutus is doing is that he's trying to tell his audience that all the good things that Caesar did, they are respected. They are highly regarded. They are honored. But when Caesar was ambitious, when Caesar had a lot of aspirations that were going to ruin and destroy Rome, I slew him. I killed him. So again here in this part, he is offering some facts about the past. When Caesar did this, I did this. When Caesar did that, I did that. So he's again laying down the facts for his audience. Towards the end of his speech, he asks his audience a bunch of rhetorical questions, and rhetorical questions means that he lays down or he poses a question that he does not need an answer to. The purpose of it is just to make the audience think and ponder and to arouse certain feelings in his listeners. Some of these questions are: who is here so base or so low that would be a bondman? Who is here so rude that would not be a Roman? Who is here so vile and so evil that would not love his country? Now, of course, these kinds of questions, they arouse definitely certain feelings. These questions are somewhat offensive. They are somewhat aggressive to some extent, because nobody would stand up or speak up to Brutus and tell him, oh yeah, I'm evil. Oh yeah, I'm a bondman. I am rude. I am a low person. I don't love my country. I don't love Rome. Nobody would ever do that. So again, these questions, they build on the audience's emotions. They try to arouse certain negative feelings. And these feelings are that they would be guilty, or they should feel ashamed if they do not love their country in that way, that they would offer any kind of sacrifice to save or to protect their country from any harm. Again, this is a recap on what I have explained through the excerpt of Brutus. Had you rather Caesar were living and you die all slaves, or that Caesar were dead to live all free men? This is offering them two different situations, and he gives them the choice or the decision to choose between them. This is logos. As Caesar loved me, I weep for him, and as he was victorious and fortunate, examples of logos, where he offers the audience facts. The last example is who is here so base? That would be a bondman. These are the rhetorical questions that he posed to his audience. And the purpose of these rhetorical questions is to arouse feelings. And so it appeals to pathos. Now, the next excerpt has to do with Antony's speech this time. Antony has a really long and very detailed speech. Antony shows a lot of wit and skill in rhetorics, where he used a lot of persuasive strategies altogether. Now, one of the things that we will focus on in this video is which of these speeches, whether Brutus's or Antony's, do you think is more effective and why? And we may not reach this decision unless we understand what kind of strategies each of them used and which strategies were more effective and which were best. So let's do this by focusing now on Antony's speech. Antony starts by saying, "Friends, Romans, and countrymen, lend me your ears." Now, he calls his audience friends and Romans and countrymen. He tries to make himself humble. He tries to make himself a commoner, like he wants to say to everyone else that I am just like you. I am one of you. I am one of the countrymen. I am one of the people. I am one of you. So here he tries to establish some kind of common ground between him and his audience or the commoners. So this is definitely an appeal to ethos, where he establishes credibility, he establishes trust, he wants people to look at him as if he were one of them. That is number one. Number two, he continues his speech by saying, I come here to speak in Caesar's funeral, and Caesar was my friend, faithful and just to me. Now, he describes the kind of relationship and the connection between him and Caesar as one that was faithful, that was loyal. Of course, we know that Antony was Caesar's loyal follower. He was his friend. It's very obvious that Antony loved Caesar very much, and this is why he was very submissive and obedient to him. And he was just to me. He was fair to me. All right, now you may consider this one of two things. It's either logos, that he is presenting facts to his audience, he's telling them about the kind of relationship that he had with Caesar, or he is still trying to arouse some sort of feelings, positive feelings about Caesar, that he was a man of fairness, he was a man of justice, he was a good friend. So he's trying here to arouse feelings of love and admiration and respect towards Caesar. So it's one of both things. Now, the strongest part in Antony's speech is the coming or the upcoming part, where Antony here lays very, very solid and strong facts for his audience about Caesar. He says, Caesar has brought many captives home to Rome, and he has brought ransoms that have filled up the general coffers. He says that Caesar was victorious throughout many of his invasions around Europe because his intention was to expand Rome and have it as an empire. This, of course, brought back many gains and many spoils and many resources in the form of gold, in the form of money, in the form of goods, whatever that is. And all these resources, of course, made Rome more prosperous, made Rome flourish, made Rome's economy much better. So here, what Antony is doing is that he is laying the factual and appeals to logos is when he talks about how he offered Caesar the crown 3 times. He says, you all did, which he did thrice refuse. Here, again, he's offering the facts. This actually happened on the day of the Lupercal festivity, where Antony gave Caesar a small, refused it all 3 times. This again is factual. So what Antony is doing is that he's appealing again to logos. Logos is also one of the very effective tools of persuasion, because people have actually attended, they have seen these occasions. They have seen Caesar refusing the crown. They have witnessed Caesar in his victories and in his invasions, and they have seen him bringing back the gains and the spoils to Rome and making Rome flourish in economy and offering people a better life to live. So people will definitely believe in these facts because they have experienced them, they have witnessed them. So again, these facts, they appeal to logos. Okay? Again, this is a recap on what we've been explaining through the excerpt. Friends, Romans, countrymen. Here, Antony is trying to establish his credibility with the people to show them that he is one of them, and this is an appeal to ethos. He was my friend, faithful and just to me, and we said that you may consider this as logo. He's trying to show that his connection or his relationship with Caesar was one that was based on friendship. Is trying to arouse emotions, then it appeals to pathos. That is correct. I thrice presented him a kingly crown, which he did thrice refuse. Again, we mentioned this before. It's a factual statement. This has actually happened, and people have witnessed it, and so it appeals to logos. Now, one of the things that has not been mentioned in the excerpt but comes later in Antony's speech is when he tells the audience about the will that Caesar has left them. He says, here is a parchment. This means here is a paper or a letter with the seal of Caesar. It has the seal or the signature of Caesar. I found it in his closet, and this is his will. Now, this is again a mention of facts. This has actually happened. He's actually holding the letter in front of his audience, and he's telling them about the will of Caesar. So this is an appeal to logos. Exactly. Now, you may notice that Antony here focuses very much in his speech on logos. He tries to offer the audience facts to prove his argument that Caesar was not ambitious as the conspirators and as Brutus claim. And he does that by offering them facts, by appealing to logos. And most probably this is what made Antony's speech much more effective. Brutus only relied on tyrant, that Caesar really had ambitions that were going to ruin Rome. He did not have these kinds of facts to offer his audience, which made his speech less effective. All right, I believe now we have reached the end of our presentation, and I'm going to leave you here with a very, very small homework to do after you have watched and listened to this video. Now, as your homework, you're going to continue analyzing the rest of Antony's speech. Antony has focused on logos in his speech very effectively, and he's offered facts about Caesar to his audience, and this has drawn his audience to believe in what he has to say. However, the second part of Antony's speech focuses on something different from logos, and this is what I want you to find out. Now, what you're going to do after you listen to this video is go online on the private storage, and you're going to find in the folder of week 1 in the literature session a link to a Microsoft form classwork, or I believe homework. This is about Antony's speech, whether he has used, what kind of persuasive strategies he's used, whether ethos, pathos, or logos. You will find 7 different statements or quotes that come from Antony's second part of his speech, and what you need to do is decide whether he's used ethos as a persuasive strategy, or pathos, or logos. And after you make your choices, you will only submit your answers online. Okay? The question that I leave you to ponder is, which speech do you believe to be better? Brutus's speech or Antony's speech, and why? What are the reasons that make one of these speeches more effective and more powerful than the other one? All right, thank you very much for listening to this video, and I will meet you again later on. Thank you so much.